So you're sitting alone at home disappointed, but why the long face? Well, you just had an experience that made you look dumb or stupid or at least not intelligent. Maybe you got an answer wrong in front of the whole class, or you lost an argument with your friends. Or maybe you did one of the many things on the internet that could make you look stupid. Heck, this entire channel is an example of intellectual bankruptcy. But out of the blue, a magician appears. Whoa, how'd you get into my house? Don't worry about that. Also, I ate all your food downstairs. But I'm here to offer a change in your life. I'm calling the police. Wait, there's a warrant out for my arrest because of that Burger King situation. Look, are you tired of looking dumb? Don't you want to be smart and knowledgeable? Cause I could get you there. I am a magician. What exactly do you mean? You see this? It's a magical potion that will make you super efficient in reading and studying. I mean, you seen those study with me videos where the person films themselves studying for hours? You'll make those people look like slackers with this. I'm talking 8-hour reading sessions, 7 days a week, super memorization. You'll be the ultimate scholar. But what about books? I mean, I don't have much. Not to worry, I know a very special magic spell to get you all the books you could ask for. Really? What's the spell called? Amazon Prime. Wait, let me stop you guys right there. Whoa, you're Friedrich Nietzsche, the 19th century German philosopher. Aw man, not this asshole again. Hey, why don't you go back to your ubermensch lifestyle where all the women you encounter reject you? Listen, before you listen to this hack fraud of a pop philosophy YouTuber, let me try and persuade you away from this life of a scholar and towards something else. Hello and welcome back to Amygdala Vids, the channel you can count on for... So today we're going to be looking at some excerpts from Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra as well as Beyond Good and Evil that look at the scholarly life and what type of person the scholar is. Just for transparency's sake, I'm using the R.J. Hollingdale translation of Thus Spoke Zarathustra and the Walter Kaufman translation of Beyond Good and Evil. So what is a scholar? What does it mean to be scholarly? Let's first think about this in terms of contemporary society before we get into Nietzsche, because I feel we tend to respect scholars and scholarly work. We respect the studying, the search for knowledge, the search for truth, and that's sort of a general idea of how we as a society understand the character of the scholar. Studying away at a library for hours, usually portrayed in a movie looking like Rick Moranis, wearing something non-intimidating like a cardigan, big stack of books, saying stuff like, according to my calculations. And yet, despite this kind of unfriendly caricature in pop culture, we do still have a certain amount of respect for the scholar. They know a lot, can probably intellectually dropkick you in a debate. Their mere presence makes you feel inferior on an intellectual level. They represent maybe not the more badass and cool, but rather the more mature and respectable. Something your parents or schooling would want for you. Now with that contemporary understanding of a scholar, let's take a look at how Nietzsche understands what the ideal scholar is. This is coming from part 6 of Beyond Good and Evil. The ideal scholar is certainly one of the most precious instruments there are, but he belongs in the hand of one more powerful. He is only an instrument. Let us say, he is a mirror. He is no end in himself. The objective man is indeed a mirror. He is accustomed to submit before whatever wants to be known, without any pleasure other than that found in knowing and mirroring. So Nietzsche is equating the ideal scholar with an instrument which is yielded by this one more powerful, and this instrument is used to know and then mirror. So a couple questions arise. Firstly, what does Nietzsche mean by mirroring? What exactly is getting mirrored? I think Nietzsche means that the scholar takes information from others or the world, and then regurgitates that information in one way or another. Now that might not sound that significant. I mean, that's what we do to get a grade for our test. But what this implies is that the scholar, the one mirroring, is almost like a redundant middleman. There's no presence of the scholar as a person in this mirroring process. I mean, have y'all ever read a study and actually remembered the names of the people conducting the study? Probably not. You just get the information for your purposes and then peace out. At minimum, they'll just end up as a citation for your paper. But really, there's no personality involved in this mirroring process. Whatever still remains in him of a person strikes him as accidental, often arbitrary, still more often disturbing. He recollects himself only with an effort and often mistakenly. He easily confuses himself with others. He errs about his own needs, and is in this respect alone, unsubtle, and slovenly. An objection to this description might be to say, well, scholars have to study something, and by choosing what to study, they exercise their personality. That's a fair point, but I would go back to Nietzsche's description of this person as an instrument wielded by one more powerful. Now, what this greater power isn't expressly stated, but this could be a school's curriculum which you have little say over, maybe the will of the teacher, and even if you're no longer a student, one might say society orders what is researched and what isn't. I'm currently rereading the Nicomachean Ethics, and Aristotle even talks about how political science ranks above the other fields of study because it decides in a sense what those fields should look into. Now obviously this painting of a boring, inhuman scholar is only looking at this ideal scholar, the nightmare version of taking scholarship to the extreme. I don't think anyone actually is this dead inside and void of personality. And yet we see smaller examples of this in real life. I mean, you ever have a conversation with someone and you could just tell they're repeating memorized talking points and memorized studies that they've read? This is especially true in disciplines where there's different schools of thought. Like in economics, you're like, oh yeah, that's the Marxist guy, or yeah, that's the Austrian guy. Because some people are so dogmatically into the study of their own creed that talking to them is almost like listening to an audiobook. Now there's another aspect of scholars that Nietzsche talks about in Thus Spoke Zarathustra that we should look into. This is coming from the section unsurprisingly called Of Scholars. For this is the truth. I have left the house of the scholars and slammed the door behind me. Too long did my soul sit hungry at their table. I have not been schooled as they have to crack knowledge as one cracks nuts. I am too hot and scorched by my own thought. It is often about to take my breath away. Then I have to get into the open air and away from all dusty rooms. But they sit in the cool shade. They want to be mere spectators in everything and they care not to sit where the sun burns upon the steps. Like those who stand in the street and stare at people passing by. So they too wait and stare at thoughts that others have thought. Now there's a couple ways to interpret this. One relates back to our earlier discussion about how these ideal scholars don't have any thoughts or personality of their own, and just examine the thoughts or knowledge of others. And because of this absence of personal stake, there's no risk. It's not their ideas that'll be called wrong because they're just mirroring other ideas. There's no risk involved, it's safe. Granted, I guess there is a risk of misinterpretation, but still, they aren't adding anything new to the conversation personally, so they can't get criticized. Now that's one way to look at it. I prefer to read this more liberally and wondering if this could also be talking about the lack of actual living going on. Maybe this is the bias of what I've read in the past, like the Pragmatists or Mishima, but guys, we have a limited amount of time on this earth, and reading takes a lot of that time away from us. Yes, reading can be extremely helpful and life-changing. My entire channel would be a great hypocrisy if I didn't think so. But let's try to find a balance and not fall too hard on an extreme of reading too much or not reading at all. Even if you take learning to be an absolute good, a lot of learning happens out in the world, not in the pages of a book. I think about the film Nightcrawler, where the protagonist researches a lot about business and human relations on the internet, but in person with actual people he just sounds creepy and rehearsed. Some learning can only truly happen out there in the battlefield. But that's just my own interpretation, I could be totally wrong. So what do you guys think? Obviously I think we're all in agreement that reading and studying is a good, but where's the line? Because Nietzsche presented us with a pretty horrific image of the ideal scholar. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I drop another video. Until next time, I wish you all a beautiful rest of your day.